I'm kidding. What just happened? Sorry, TikTok. Just going live on YouTube. But my mouse chose this exact moment to die. So I'm going to put some juice into it. So today, I won't kick off officially because I'm just charging this up very quickly. Extremely annoying. We're going to be talking about the sale of OpenClaw. So Peter Steinberger has just announced that he is selling, and we're going to talk about what that sale means, OpenClaw or Claudebot to OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT. So some people are very angry about this because they wanted it to remain its own thing, whereas others are very excited about it because it means OpenClaw, Claudebot, is going to become something that everybody is going to be able to access. So we're going to talk about what the ramifications of this are. We only heard this news yesterday, so this is all relatively new. But huge news for Peter. So Peter probably just became a billionaire overnight. I think Peter's probably done very, very, very well from this. So congratulations to him. Let's see, is my mouse working? Are you kidding? This is a beautiful little thing, but my God, it's annoying. Hey, Lyra, how are you doing? Yeah, it's fantastic news for Peter. Going from, I think it was 19 days between Anthropic coming down on Claudebot and saying, change your name, you're not allowed to call it Claudebot, to him quickly changing it to Maltbot, panicking and changing it to Maltbot, to later in that same week, he changed it to OpenClaw. That cease and desist was sent by Anthropic about 19 days ago. So he's gone from a letter being told you cannot use this name to exploding, become one of the most popular open source projects of all time, to selling to OpenAI and probably becoming a billionaire in less than a month. So Peter has had one hell of a month, let's put it that way. His 2026 is going very, very well. Let's see if this is working. Come on, this is ridiculous. There we go. Sorry, my mouse needed to be charged up. It's very annoying. You don't know whether or not it's charged up. Okay, I can kick off now. Yeah. Connected. Fantastic. All right, let's kick off properly. OpenClaw. Dapper deals. We'll talk about what OpenClaw is and why it's important and what's happening with the news. I'll catch everyone up on it because it's pretty important. Okay, let's kick off. It is Monday the 16th of February. This is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be talking through the latest AI news of the day. The big news story, the one that we're going to be covering for, I think, the whole of this live, is the sale of OpenClaw to OpenAI. So Peter Steinberger, I'm going to pull him up, is an individual. He is one guy, and we can actually see his GitHub here, who has been a software developer for a number of years. He has spent 13 years shipping native iOS and modern shipping apps, and he's got about 40 different projects over on his GitHub. This is the first thing I want to point out. Lots of people are saying, oh wow, Peter's so lucky, he's done so well, because he's basically become a billionaire in the last couple of days. Remember, this is so important. He has been grinding for years. He has been building and building and building. He's released over 40 tools relatively recently. Let's see when this one was. I'm not sure if I can see the first commit. 8 months ago? No, that was the last commit. So the first commit was I'm not going to dig into it, but this is a guy who has been building using artificial intelligence, and also before that, and he's finally come out with a product which is so good that he had all of the venture capitalists all over San Francisco chasing him down. He had Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, trying to get him, and Sam Altman from OpenAI, and he has finally sold, and he's going over to OpenAI. We're going to talk about what that means for OpenClaw or Claudebot, and also how this is a bit of a fumble for Anthropic, because Anthropic had a chance here to work with him. They did not. Instead, they sent him a cease and desist, and they threatened him with a legal letter. It's also a fumble for Europe. So Peter is from Austria, and he is the latest in European talent just to be taken. He created something very, very, very impressive, very exciting, and immediately an American frontier labs, or all the American frontier labs, said, how much will it cost to bring you over here? So he's moving to San Francisco, and he is, he's going to be working for OpenAI. So let's hop in and look at what the news is. I'll also talk about what OpenClaw is. I see some people asking in the comments. Actually, we'll quickly look at that. So OpenClaw is, let's pull up their main website. OpenClaw is a personal AI assistant. So OpenClaw, I have mine on my WhatsApp personally, connected to a VPS, a server somewhere. You can also buy a Mac Mini and install it on there. That's kind of overkill, but that's what a lot of people are doing. Or you can install it on something like a Raspberry Pi, a little mini computer like this. What OpenClaw allows you to do is to have a truly autonomous personal assistant using artificial intelligence. It allows you to do an awful lot more, actually. But that is the main usage of it. I actually put together a video last week, and let me pull it up so you can go and have a look at it, which is doing quite well right now. Let me go to my site. Talking about the uses of it. If you have ever seen Iron Man and you've seen Jarvis, here we go. So this video is what can you actually do with OpenClaw, practical use cases, which is over on YouTube. So go and check that out. I think there is also a guide, a text guide all about this as well on my website, AI with Kyle. What ClaudeBot is, it is finally the realization of the dream of having an always-on, persistent artificial intelligence that acts as our personal assistant. It's what we kind of thought we'd be getting with things like Siri 10 years ago, and what a lot of people have been expecting with artificial intelligence over the couple of years. It's basically like a Jarvis, like a Iron Man's Jarvis, where he can talk to it, it can go off and do tasks for him. It has a memory of everything that you do with it. It can connect to various different tools. If you want, you can connect it to your email, connect it to your bank accounts. Don't recommend it, but you could. And you can have it proactively complete tasks for you. So it's moving us from artificial intelligence as a tool that we go to, a tool that we have to invoke, to it instead being proactive. So my ClaudeBot, my OpenClaw, he had to change the name. It sends me a little report every single morning with the things that are outstanding, the things that I still need to do. And over the day, as I start to have ideas or come up with tasks that I need to do, I'll just text ClaudeBot and say, hey, this is something that we need to deal with. And it will help me prioritize. It will also look at my calendar. I don't have access to the email. That was a decision I made. But if I did, it'd be able to prioritize my emails as well. Basically, OpenClaw is that promise of an actual artificial intelligence assistant that actually works for you. Now, I do not recommend everybody uses it. It is risky. There are many, many layers of security risks that are involved in it. So a couple of weeks ago, my mum asked me, could you set up OpenClaw for me? And I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And funnily enough, one of the reasons Peter Steinberger, the creator of it, has sold to OpenAI is he wants help building a version that everyone can use. So OpenClaw is very cool. I do not recommend most people use it because you need some technical knowledge to get it set up. And once you do, there's a number of different security issues that you need to deal with. So if you are relatively new to AI, if you're relatively new to tech, I do not recommend it. That said, the sale to OpenAI means we're going to be getting a more user-friendly version of this somewhere in the near future. So let's have a look at the sale and the context here. I'm seeing a lot of questions as well. So, Peter Steinberger is joining OpenAI to drive the next generation of personal agents. This is a tweet from Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI. He is a genius with a lot of amazing ideas about the future of very smart agents interacting with each other to do very useful things for people. Okay, that's pretty broad. That's pretty general. It's going to do very useful things for people. This sounds a bit like Trump. This is like, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to do all these great things, and don't you worry about it. A lot of the time, people will often ask, well, what does it actually do? And it's it's a question that shouldn't be that hard to answer. But the fact that Sam Altman is saying, yeah, it's going to do really useful things, that's very broad. Okay, so we expect this will quickly become core to our product offerings. Ooh, I mean, that's a huge statement. This means that OpenClaw and Peter Steinberger will become core in the same way that ChatGPT is core to their offerings. OpenClaw will live in a foundation on as an open source project, okay, that OpenAI will continue to support. The future is going to be extremely multi-agent, and it's important to us to support open source as part of that. A lot to unpack there. So at the moment, anybody can go to Peter's GitHub and find, where is it? They can find the repository for where is it? OpenClaw. Let's go to it there. Oh, that's interesting. Where's the repository gone? He hasn't got rid of the repository, has he? Where's it gone? Okay. Maybe it's elsewhere, but that's a bit worrying already. So anybody can branch, they can duplicate, they can create their own versions of OpenClaw, they can create products off the back of it, they can basically use and access all of the code. So it's part of the open source movement. When OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, are purchasing it, what they're saying, or what Sam Altman is saying here, is that it will live in a foundation as an open source project. So it's not going to be necessarily coming inside of OpenAI, and we're not going to use it for profit. We're not going to close the doors. We're not going to hide the code. It won't be closed source. So ChatGPT, for example, or GPT 5.2 or whatever the model is, 5.3 now, is closed source. We do not have access to the code. We do not have access to the weights. We do not have access to the parameters involved in that. That is their secret, but that belongs inside. However, OpenClaw is open. So you can literally see the code, you can duplicate the code, you can do what you want with the code. Generally, not always, generally, for-profit companies will want to have their code closed so that people can't duplicate it and use it for their own means. So generally, again, this is very broad, they're not going to be interested in open sourcing their code because then they lose their intellectual property. Now, there are other ways you can monetize open source. You can do implementations for people, you can do support, etc., etc. But on the whole, most for-profit companies, and OpenAI is complicated in that respect too, they're going to want their code protected. So one of the big criticisms immediately was, oh my God, OpenAI is going to buy OpenClaw. They're going to block off access. They're going to make it closed source. They're not going to allow us to play. They're not going to allow us to create using this. Sam Altman is immediately saying, nope, no, we're going to keep it open source project. Now, we have to take this with a pinch of salt. The structure of OpenAI is incredibly convoluted because, remember, it started as a not-for-profit and it has converted into a quasi for-profit, and this is one of the reasons why Elon Musk is suing them, etc., etc. It all gets very complicated. So we do need to be wary about this because, as people have rightly criticized OpenAI, they are not an open company. They have one open source model called GPT OSS. That's about it. So they are not an open source company. So whether or not OpenClaw remains open source, debatable. What I think they will do is they will have OpenClaw, as it is now, will sit in its own foundation. They'll allow people to continue to contribute to that, to fork it, to do what they want with it. But they'll bring Peter and they'll into their core team, and they will create a closed source version of it, which will interlock more closely with their ecosystem. So I think they'll probably keep this true. I think OpenClaw will stay open source, but they'll stop Peter working on it and bring him in to work on a closed source version of this. Now, obviously, we don't know all of the details. This only happened yesterday, but that would make an awful lot of sense. Let's have a look, though, at Peter's response to this. And again, massive congratulations to Peter. Whatever happens to OpenClaw moving forward, fantastic work, Peter. Like, this is just superb. So he says, I'm joining OpenAI to bring agents to everyone. Cool. OpenClaw is becoming a foundation, open, independent, and just getting started. So that's interesting. It's a foundation. That does not preclude them spinning off a closed source, for-profit, OpenAI, ChatGPT integrated version and charging for that. Because remember, they need to make money. Okay, and so he's written a little statement about it. There he is with his meetup. Very, very cool. TLDR, I'm joining OpenAI to work on bringing agents to everyone. OpenClaw will move to a foundation and stay open and independent. The last month was a whirlwind. Good God, yeah. It was 19 days between him being sent a cease and desist from Anthropic, telling him to change the name from Claudebot, to selling OpenClaw to OpenAI for, I imagine, we don't know the numbers, but I imagine about $1 billion. I wouldn't be that surprised if it was more. The last month was a whirlwind. Never would I have expected that my playground project would create such waves. The internet got weird again, and it's been incredibly fun to see how my work inspired so many people around the world. There's an endless array of possibilities opened up for me, countless people trying to push me into various directions, giving me advice, asking how they can invest or what I will do. Saying it's overwhelming is an understatement. If you have been following Peter on Twitter, you can see this in real time. Basically, there's so many tweets of him saying, please stop bothering me, please stop asking me these questions, go away. He's one guy, remember. He has lots of people helping with his repo, but he's one dude who has suddenly become one of the most important people in AI in the last couple of weeks. When I started exploring AI, my goal was to have fun and to inspire people. And here we are. The lobster is taking over the world. My next mission is to build an agent that even my mum can use. Awesome. They'll need much broader change and a lot more thought on how to do it safely and access to the very latest models and research. So bringing it inside of OpenAI so that he gets access to the resources and can work within an ecosystem that makes it safer for everyday people to use. Because right now I do not recommend most people use OpenClaw. Yes, I could totally see how OpenClaw could become a huge company, and no, that's not really exciting to me. I'm a builder at heart. I did the whole creating a company game already, poured 13 years of my life into it and learned a lot. What I want is to change the world, not build a large company, and teaming up with OpenAI is the fastest way to bring this to everyone. So this reminds me a lot of Demis Hassabis. Demis Hassabis was the co-founder of Google DeepMind, and back in 2014, I think it was, he sold DeepMind to Google. Part of the reason for that, and go and watch the documentary The Thinking Game, because you can see this happen live. Part of the reason for that was he wanted the resources that a company like Google could provide. He was busy building models and doing science, and he needed additional resources to build the best models in the world. And Google could provide that. So he cut a deal with Google, basically saying, you will let me and my team go off and do our projects. We're going to focus on what we want to do. We're also going to stay in London. That was one of his provisos. And in return, you get the lab. I think it was 250 million, which was quite cheap. I might be wrong. I think it's 250 million, which was a lot at the time, but very cheap now. And you are going to, let's just get on with it. And you're going to give us your infinite resources. So I think this is similar here. This is a builder, somebody who just wants to create stuff. But if he's suddenly got a $1 trillion company behind him, you can build a lot. That gives you a huge amount of leverage. And he will be able to build something for his mum, which is very cool. And he will also, at the same time, make an awful lot of money. So part of this deal, I'm sure he has become extraordinarily wealthy. So he probably doesn't need to worry about money anymore. I spent last week in San Francisco talking with the major labs. So we know that he talked to OpenAI and he talked to Meta. Did not talk to Anthropic, apparently. And the fact that they sent him a cease and desist about 20 days ago, telling him to change his name and threatening legal action, has something to do with that, I'm sure. Getting access to people and unreleased research, this he continues, and it's been inspiring on all fronts. I want to thank all the folks I talked to this week, and I'm thankful for the opportunities. It's always been important to me that OpenClaw stays open source and given the freedom to flourish. Ultimately, I felt OpenAI was the best place to continue pushing on my vision and expand its reach. The more I talked to the people there, the clearer it became that we shared the same vision. So we know that Mark Zuckerberg was trying to snag him for Meta. Meta have, over the last year, brought people into their superintelligence lab with eye-watering compensation packages. There was one that was 250 million over a couple of years, which was just to hire somebody, 250 million, just obscene amounts of money to bring people into the company. So I'm sure Meta were offering Peter Steinberger a lot of money, but he's gone with OpenAI instead. The community around OpenClaw is something magical, and OpenAI has made strong commitments to enable me to dedicate my time to it and already sponsors the project. To get this into a proper structure, I'm working on making it a foundation. It will stay a place for thinkers, hackers, and people that want a way to own their data, with the goal of supporting even more models and companies. Personally, I'm super excited to join OpenAI be part of the frontier of AI research and development, and continue building with you all. The claw is the law. So again, massive congratulations to Peter and to OpenAI for getting him on board as well. Extremely cool. This happened yesterday. We will see how it pans out. There are some people who are extremely supportive of this and excited for the future, because it means resources being put behind this instead of it being basically a one-person project with the help of collaborators. And there are others who are saying, oh my God, this is the end of OpenClaw. What a shame. It's going to be neutered. It's going to be closed. It's going to be for profit. We will see. Both Sam Altman and Peter have talked about the fact that it's going to be in a foundation. My question will be, will the main development be happening in that foundation, the open source foundation, or will they move the talent, Peter, and all of the resources and effort into a closed source version of it, which happens within OpenAI itself? We'll see. We'll find out very shortly. Again, though, regardless of which way that goes, good job, Peter. You've done a hell of a job here. So I'm going to have a look at the implications for others, the people who are not part of this deal. But let me quickly answer some questions. So now, will we still have to do it manually or from our GPT subscriptions? We don't know right now. You can still set up a OpenClaw manually. And if you have the technical know-how to do so, I recommend trying it out. I've got a few different ways to do it. If you go to aiwithkyle.com/openclaw, I talk about a couple of methods you can use. So you can either do it on a VPS. That's how I do mine. So I rent a VPS for about $10 a month. It sits on a server and I can talk to it from there. You can put it on an AWS free tier, which again is its own computer in the cloud. You can put it on your main machine, as long as you put it in a virtual machine or some kind of Docker container. You do not want to give it access to your main computer because that's risky. Or you can use a secondary machine. So if you have an old laptop lying around, stick on there. You can stick it on something like a Raspberry Pi. It's about $100, very cheap. Or you can go out and buy yourself a Mac Mini for $500. That's what a lot of people are doing. That is overkill for most people, unless you are running local models on the Mac Mini, or unless you're running other compute-intensive tools on the Mac Mini. But otherwise, that's generally overkill, and I would recommend using a VPS. I personally use Hetzner, but there are plenty of other ones. They're all the same, honestly. And it would take you about 15-20 minutes to set up. However, if you are less technically comfortable, I wouldn't recommend it at this point. I would wait until we see whatever ChatGPT comes out with. It will likely be part of your current subscription. I imagine Anthropic, the makers of Claude, are also working on something similar. They already have Cowork, which is moving in that direction, but not quite the same levels of integration and power. But after the fumble, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, after the last couple of weeks, I think Anthropic will be scrambling to get something similar out of the door as well, because they're going to look very silly after this purchase. So yeah, it should be under the subscription, but we don't know. We only found out about this yesterday, so there'll probably be more details throughout the week. So I can't understand the hype. I mean, maybe for people that don't understand it. Yeah, so you can do a lot of what OpenClaw does using Claude Code and some cron jobs, kind of to set it up so it runs scheduled tasks. That said, I would say if you haven't used OpenClaw, it's hard to understand the hype. And I initially was very like, no, it's like we could do this already. Like, why are people using it to give daily reports themselves or give themselves weather reports? We can do that. You don't need to set up a persistent AI for that. That's overkill. As soon as I installed it and started chatting to it and realizing what I could do and what I could connect together and how easy it made everything, the task of connecting and automating, as soon as I set it up and started playing around, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is extremely powerful. So for me, I treat it as an employee. So as if I had hired an executive assistant. If there is a task that I know needs to be done on a regular basis, if there's a task like research that has to be done overnight and then delivered to me in the morning, I set it on that. Awesome. But it can also learn to get better at it over time. Obviously, you could set that up using a normal agent. You could set it up using a cron job, but it's the ability to do that on the fly and for it to be able to juggle and prioritize between different tasks. The interfacing with the gateway that is OpenClaw just makes it so easy. So I think it's a preview of what's to come, which is a truly useful AI personal assistant. It has rough edges, it has security issues, absolutely. It's a pain to set up. If you don't know how to use the terminal, if you don't know how to set up security hardening, etc., you probably shouldn't touch it. But as a preview of what's to come, I think it's really exciting. And we knew that the frontier labs, so OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, etc., they're going to be working on something like this. OpenAI has just stolen a bit of a march on the other companies by just grabbing Peter and given him, I imagine, an awful lot of money so that they can build upon OpenClaw. Oh, somebody's saying check the repositories. I did check the repositories. Let's see. Oh, maybe it's under ClaudeBot. There we go. Oh no, that's the website. So earlier I was trying to find the repo on Peter's. Can we do it by sort by stars? I mean, it's got the most stars of any. Earlier I was trying to find the repo on Peter's GitHub, and I could not. So I'm either looking at the wrong one or he's taking it private. If he's taking it private, that's going to be, there's no way, that's going to be huge news. And I have not seen that. If anyone can look, or is it in its own repo? Sorry, is it in its own account? Yes. Yes, here it is. Okay, cool. I thought I was going mad there for a second. So it's in its own OpenClaw repo, and there it is. Yeah, 200,000 stars. Phew, I thought that the repo had disappeared, which would be, well, that would be drama. It has not. It is still there. It's just on OpenClaw, github.com/OpenClaw/OpenClaw. This is the problem with doing these things live. Can you combine N8N with OpenClaw? Yep. You can combine OpenClaw with pretty much anything, which is why it's really cool. So you can use MCPs, you can use skills, you can give it control of a browser, you can use APIs, obviously, lots of different ways to connect things. And the great thing is you can just ask OpenClaw, hey, I want to connect to N8N for such and such and such. How do I do that? And it will kind of work it out, and it will go off and do that in the background for you. Very cool. If someone is not technical but wants to learn to have OpenClaw, the steps to learn and keep it safe, I would wait. I would wait until the Frontier Labs put out whatever it is they're building. However, if you do want some guides, if you go to aiwithkyle.com/OpenClaw, I walk through some different ways to set it up. I would still wait, honestly, because we're going to have polished consumer level versions of this in the next couple of months. Right now, it requires a bit more legwork, and it's probably not worth the additional risk instead of just waiting a few weeks. A lot of people feel this is selling out. Yep. And this will prevent people from progressing OpenClaw on their own. Yes. Yeah. No, I get that. I understand the argument that they'll make. However, they can spin off their own version and then just get on with it. Yes, he has momentum, but there's nothing stopping anyone else from building up that momentum and taking on the mantle. So I would say to them, why don't you do it? There's a Peter Steinberger shaped hole in the ecosystem now, in the fully open source. They say they're going to keep it open source, but we'll see. So anyone who's complaining and saying, "Oh, you've betrayed us," I would say to them, well, step up and get on with it. Like, do the work. But I understand why people will make the argument. But I think this is fantastic news for Peter. I think it's great news for OpenAI as well. And I personally think it's very exciting that one guy can put together a project. I think he's been working on it for 3 months. Build up this level of excitement by building something that's genuinely valuable and really useful, and then sell to one of the frontier labs for presumably hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. That for me, super exciting. Very, very, very cool. And anyone who accuses him of selling out, I would ask the questions like, well, wouldn't you for $1 billion? And I imagine most people would be like, maybe. I've got ethics issues around ChatGPT. What's our next best tool? Claude. So Claude by Anthropic. Do we know what kind of equity he got or what he got monetarily? No, we don't yet. I can only assume it is an obscenely large amount of money. More money than anyone ever needs. So I'm sure he's absolutely fine. Great news for OpenAI, so they can monetize OpenClaw, which is bad for us. Yeah, I mean, they're a business. This is 100% what they're doing. They are bringing in a product which can be added into subscriptions. They can charge for that. They can charge more for that potentially, because they need to make money, because they are currently burning a lot of money and don't have strong revenue resources in place. I would say that if it's a valuable product and if it's useful on a daily basis, we get to choose whether we buy it or not. We can still set up our own OpenClaw for free and hook it to our own LLMs. Nothing stopping us from doing that. This just gives us an additional alternative, especially for the people who are less technical, and they can just pay OpenAI to provide them with a more secure, a more stable version of OpenClaw. So I think that's fair. That's business, honestly. Right. So yeah, Math says can't blame him for making money on it. Nope, not at all. So what I'm going to look at are the losers of this. So about 20 days ago, if you remember, it gets confusing. There were several names for OpenClaw. So initially it was called ClawdBot, spelled like this, CLAWD, not CLAUD. Now that is obviously confusing because of Claude. This is Claude from Anthropic, CLAUD. This is always a nightmare to talk about on video because they sound exactly the same. So it was called ClawdBot. Anthropic, the company who create Claude, CLAUDE, oh my God, sent a letter to Peter saying, absolutely not. You cannot call it that. People are getting confused. And people were getting confused, to be fair. Lots of people thought that it was connected to Claude Code. People thought it was connected to Anthropic. And this is genuinely a point of confusion. So I think their lawyers had every right to send this letter. If you do not protect your IP, if you don't protect your trademarks and your names, then you actually dilute the value of that intellectual property. This is why companies like Nintendo and Disney send so many cease and desists, and they have to protect their intellectual property, because otherwise, if they don't, that creates a precedent and it weakens and dilutes the value of that intellectual property. So I think Anthropic's lawyers did exactly what they're meant to do. They probably did it without much thought. They just saw this new tool called ClawdBot that was trending, realized, wow, that sounds exactly like Claude. That's a homonym. That's a problem for us. And then they sent out the letters. I don't think Anthropic really thought it through. Unfortunately, this meant that they're now the baddies. in this particular story. So Peter, in a bit of a panic, he renamed it to Moltbot, M-O-L-T, as in it's a lobster who's molted its shell to get bigger and stronger. And everyone online was like, Peter, that is a terrible name. We love you, but good God. And a day or so later, he was like, yeah, it's a bad name. I get it. And he renamed it to OpenClaw. Again, a little bit confusing because it's got the word open in it, so it has connotations with OpenAI, but that stuck. So it's called OpenClaw now, but you'll still hear people call it Claudebot. You don't hear anyone call it Moltbot, but that was only for a day or two. So you'll either hear OpenClaw or Claudebot. Cool. So because of this, Anthropic are kind of the baddies in this story because their only connection to one of the most exciting kind of developments in artificial intelligence of this year is as the big bad corporation who sent a letter to this one dude in Austria and said, hey, cut it out. That's their only connection to it. So when Peter was over in San Francisco and he took talks with venture capitalists, OpenAI and Meta, he did not go and talk to Anthropic. So it feels like a fumble that OpenClaw is going to OpenAI and not Anthropic. Any particular reason? Somebody asked Peter, and he said, yeah, they only sent love letters from legal. So the fact that they only sent him a cease and desist, they told him to cut that crap out, that is their only communication with him. He said, this came off wrong and I don't want to badmouth them. They've been quite nice about it. They have some good people in there as well. But still, Anthropic have basically fumbled this. So people already assumed that Claudebot was part of Anthropic and people were excited about Claudebot. So what Anthropic could have done was come in and say, hey, Peter, the name's a bit confusing, but do you want to work together? Do you want to do something together? They did not do that. They just sent a legal letter saying, hey, you cut this out or we're going to sue you into oblivion, basically. So it's a fumble. Crazy fumble by Anthropic. Claudebot became the fastest growing AI project of all time. Actually, one of the fastest growing open source projects of all time. Like, not just AI, but everywhere, generating nothing but goodwill. And instead of Dario reaching out, like Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg did, they just pressured him with legal threats. Yeah, so Anthropic are coming out of this looking a little bit silly, and it allows Sam Altman to have the high ground here. So I think Anthropic have lost a bit of goodwill on this, especially from within the AI community. The other big loser, and I thought this was a fascinating take because I did not think about it. So it's a guy called Jacob Steinstadt. God, so I'm sorry, Jacob. Jacob Steinschaden. He says Europe is losing its next top talent in the AI sector to the US, as unicorn Peter Steinberger is joining OpenAI and moved from Vienna to San Francisco. And in doing so, he also turned down offers from Mark Zuckerberg and Meta. It all happened very quickly, yes, within about a month. While Zuck, Sam and Satya Nadella were very quick to contact him, which European CEOs actually made an effort to talk to him? I think this is a really good point. Anyone who comes out with anything impressive will be poached. They will just be taken over to San Francisco or Beijing potentially. Whereas Europe does not have the ecosystems, it doesn't have the support to be able to push a project like this. I think the bigger question here is, so Jacob is saying which European CEOs actually made an effort to talk to him. The bigger question here is, well, what European AI companies could? Who's in a position to offer him what the American companies are offering? Yeah, I mean, we have, I guess 11 Labs, we have Mistral, we have Lovable. They're not in the position of a frontier lab to be, well, Mistral to a certain extent, in the position of a frontier lab that has billions of dollars at their beck and call to be able to offer at this point. Europe is just not in the game. This is a two-horse race between China and America. So talent like Peter and this community of people here in the fastest growing project in open source development and in artificial intelligence are always going to get poached. Whenever there's going to be any level of excitement, the incentives to go to America will be so high. And of course, we have exceptions. We have companies who are sticking it out and they are still in Europe, but they are exceptions to the rule and they are very, very few and far between. Yes, Mistral. Mistral is probably the only one. Somebody's mentioned Mistral in the comments. That's probably the only, well, it's the only frontier lab. I wonder if they did reach out to Peter. I'd love to know if they did. John Paul says, is this actually live or is it a recording? This is live. It will be a recording later. So what I do is I do a live every single morning running through the AI news. This is a bit, not sketchy, that's not the word. This is a bit ad hoc. So you'll get my ums, my ers, my stuttering, circular logic, looking at the wrong things, etc. That will be edited and tidied up. And then from there, the YouTube version will be created, which is just an edited version. And then everything goes into the newsletter as well. So if you come to aiwithkyle.com, you can sign up for the newsletter. You get a bunch of free courses, loads of free stuff, an AI readiness challenge, 5-day, a catalogue of about, oh dear, I broke my catalogue. Ha! See, this is why I don't do, this is the problem with doing things live. I've broken my catalogue somehow. Okay, I know what I'm doing immediately after this. Let's see if the courses work. A bunch of free courses, a community in Circle, where you can come and introduce yourself and meet other people who are building with artificial intelligence, and a whole bunch more. That's all free, available at aiwithkyle.com. And these lives I do, they become the basis for that, for the AI news on the website as well. So you'll be able to find that all there. But yes, this is new. He seems quite pro-European. Yes, he is, very much so. He's bullish on European tech, but I just don't think there's a future, not for AI. So again, congratulations to Peter. We will see what this means. He's saying that open means open, so it will remain open. Again, the question here is, will they spin off a closed source version of it and then pour all of the development talent, all of the time, all of the money, Peter's own efforts into that closed source version? Because you can 100% keep an open version. You don't need to close that existing repo. You don't need to close down that project. You just stop improving it. You just leave it. That is entirely what could happen here. And instead, all of the efforts are spent on the closed source. So I think it's great that it's been put in a foundation instead of being immediately locked up. But we still need to see what the next steps are. Will it be maintained? Will it be improved? Or will all of those efforts be put into the closed source version, which you can only access by paying ChatGPT, by paying OpenAI? Again, if that is the case, I still would not fault Peter. That is entirely fair. But we shall see, because people are criticizing it, which I think is a little unfair on him. What should I do and learn while waiting for the new version? Your advice. So it depends where you are right now. What you learn in AI depends on where you are and where you want to get to, because AI is absolutely massive. What's going on? A massive subject. It's like saying, what can I use to, what should I learn in computers? It's too big, it's too broad. What you can do though, if you come to aiwithkyle.com/resources, I've got something called the levels of AI here, where you can find out where you are personally on kind of a ladder, your kind of skill level, what level of artificial intelligence you're at. You can find out where you are right now, and you can also start to think about where you want to get to. So not everybody needs to be building their own large language models. Very few of us do. Not everyone needs to be deploying our own local models either. Again, it's kind of a fun thing to do, but it's not for everybody. That's absolutely fine. So you kind of need to work out where do you need to get to on this ladder. Do you need to learn Python? Do you need to learn machine learning? Or are you okay just kind of using this stuff and using it to build a business, using it to make your life more productive? If so, you don't need to go all the way up into levels 6, 7, 8. You can be fine down here, level 3 or 4. Absolutely fine. So work out where you are and where you want to go, and then you need to build a plan to get from one to the next. So again, if you come to this page, I have resources. So if you're at level 1 and you need to get to level 2, here's a few ways to get there. So there's a course from me. This is all free. So this is Prompt Engineering 101. There's a playbook. So that's one. And then a couple of other resources from other people. So this is a book by my friend Celia. AI for Life, a really good book by an actual publisher, which is awesome. That's very rare in the AI space. Or Generative AI for Everyone by Andrew over at deeplearning.ai. So I've got for each of these stages resources to help you get to the next step, basically. So if you're at level 2 and you want to get to level 3, you can check out my little playbook here. Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is all free. This is all available online, and that can help you move from step to step to step. So in terms of what should I learn, it depends. It depends on where you are and where you want to go. And then we need to cross that gap in between. And this will help. If you kind of want to learn more about the general how this stuff works, I've put together another page which is called the Ultimate AI Learning Guide. Again, it's free if you go to the resources page, and this has a bunch of videos on it that you can run through, including the trilogy by Andrej Karpathy. Fantastic videos. Let me zoom out a bit because it's so big. A couple of books that you should look at. There aren't many books that are good because they go out of date so quickly, but I've put some here. And then some free courses like deeplearning.ai, the various different academies. The AI Canon, so this is from Andreessen Horowitz. I'll show you their version, which is all of the seminal papers, all of the resources to kind of get you really up to speed of understanding this stuff. So this is a bit ugly, so I actually created my own version. There we go. So you can find it all on AI with Kyle as well. So there's a ton of resources here. The question is how you work through them all. But if you join up to the newsletter, there'll be information about how to get into it, what kind of stuff you should be doing. And all of that foundational knowledge would be really useful for using agents as you move forward as well. And if you feel like it, you can 100% install OpenClaw yourself. This is how you do it. You're going to copy this into your terminal and press enter. That's kind of it, but you need to make sure the environment you set it up on is secure. So first you need to kind of prepare that environment, whether it's a secondary computer, whether it is a Raspberry Pi, whether it's a server that you rent for $5, $10 a month or whatever. You need to set up a secure environment, then open the terminal, run this, and that will get you started. That will get you to the install daemon. So it's not that difficult, but you need to know how to open the terminal. You need to know how to make sure it's a secure environment, and then you need to know from there how to set up API keys, etc., to start connecting everything together. So if any of that sounds terrifying, I would say just wait a little bit, and we're going to have secure versions of this very, very soon. I'm having a snoop, and it's already so much better than the government one. So I haven't actually released my version of the government website. So this is a reference to the over the last couple of weeks, I've been dumping on this AI Skills Hub page, this catalog of third-party links that the UK government put together. This page costs them £4.1 million, which is about $5.5 million US for our American friends. They did not write any of the content themselves. These are just links, basically. They also did not build this website themselves. This is built on something called InVision Community, and it costs about, I don't know, £1,000 a year. Not very much. It costs 0.002% of their budget. So they basically wasted $4 million on something that's not very impressive. Anyway, I won't get started on that. I've started to recreate this. I have not managed to finish it because I'm launching a product. I've got a new cohort coming up and running a conference. I'm doing daily lives. I'm writing the newsletter. I've started writing a book. I'm relocating. I'm moving country shortly. So it's fallen behind a little bit. But yeah, this page is not very good. Oh, I've got a notification. You just earned the 1 week done badge. I got a notification for something. Oh, it's been a week since joining. Oh, they have a whole badge thing. Don't know what for, but okay. Does your newsletter have a step with security so I can do it on my own? I put together, if you go to aiwithkyle.openclaw, I put together some information on security. So here, this is very basic stuff. The big thing is don't put it on your main computer. That's the big one. I also did I did a video about security, but I forget which one it was. It might be this one. It might be this one. I forget which one it was. So security is a moving target. That is the problem. So anything that you read, anything that helps you with security hardening will go out of date because hackers and bad actors are focusing on OpenClaw, because OpenClaw is such a big project and there's so many people who don't really know what they're doing installing OpenClaw that it's a very, very, very ripe target to people who want to gain access to your computer. So the first main thing is you put it on a secondary device. You do not give it access to your main computer. Second, you need to be careful about what you give OpenClaw access to. So it doesn't matter what machine it's on. If you then give it access to your Gmail and you give it access to your bank and you give it access to, I don't know, your social security, whatever, like you are creating additional security problems there. And then you can do things like security hardening. What I've been doing, and this is very crude, but it works very well, is I have a task in OpenClaw, which is, hey, I want you to go and find out the best security recommendations for OpenClaw right now. So it'll go off and research them, and it will find, you know, the February the 15th most up-to-date security recommendations for OpenClaw, and then it will give me a list of all of those things. It says, oh, we need to use SSH for this, we need to put it in a Docker container, we shouldn't be accessing it in root, blah, blah, blah. It will give me all these recommendations, and then I can have it implement the security hardening itself. So it is hardening its own security. So that's one thing you can do as well. Again, if all of this sounds complicated, just don't for now, because we can wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm sure we're going to be seeing something from the Frontier Labs very quickly. Claude Cowork, for example, was created in just 2 weeks by the Claude team. So I imagine Anthropic right now in absolute damage control, trying to build something ASAP to get it out the door to steal some of the thunder from OpenAI and the acquisition of OpenClaw. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Anthropic version of this, maybe within the month, definitely within a month or two. So if you feel FOMO about OpenClaw, I get it, but also it's such a risk, it's such a big security vector, opening up your system, opening up your email address, etc., that I would just leave it. It's not really worth it for the additional productivity gains. I've got an old laptop that I want to have it on. Yep, that's perfect. Stick it on an old laptop. It doesn't need much. So OpenClaw itself needs very, very little. It can run on a Raspberry Pi. I think it needs 32 megabytes of RAM. So not much. The reason people are buying Mac Minis is because you can also run a local model, although not very fast, I would argue. And you can run other pieces of software on the Mac Mini, but otherwise it's overkill. Cool. Right. What time is it? Yes, been about an hour. So I will continue to cover what's happening with OpenClaw over this week. I'll put together some more videos. So I'll do a specific one on security with OpenClaw, because I think that would be useful. Bearing in mind that it is a movable feast, it will shift around, but I'll put together a best practices guide. I'll also do some more videos on installation, but this is all up in the air because we don't really know what's going to happen with the project now that it's gone over to OpenAI. Yes, they're going to keep this version. This version here right now will be kept open source. Will future versions, will the most improved and up-to-date version? Maybe. We will see. Anyway, make sure you are subscribed over on aiwithkyle.com and join the community here. There's a whole bunch of bonuses, free things, plus the daily newsletter, which is the edited, tidied up version of this live stream that you're watching right now, or perhaps you're watching on YouTube later. Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.